Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic, with another roundup of the comics that I pulled this week. I've got 7 titles to talk about this week, so let's get on with it. First out the gate this week is Hinterkind issue 7 from the Vertigo imprint. With this issue we've had a little bit of a hiatus from this title, had a couple of months off, and I did say on Wednesday that I was coming to this issue with a little bit of trepidation. I had hoped that this was going to be kind of like the new Fables, given that that is coming to the end, and it certainly has a certain type of that flavour. But certainly hasn't reached that quality that Bill Willingham has done for years and years with Fables. But still, it's a fun read, but that's pretty much all it was for the first 6 issues. So when I read this, I was actually surprised how good it was, despite its kind of scattered storytelling, because what we have is, in some ways, is a reintroduction to our main characters. Now, they may all be split up from where they first began, but we certainly get the kind of flavour of who they are and their relationships to the people that they are currently with. And that's the great thing about this, is that despite the kind of jigsaw puzzle type storytelling we've got here, there is a lot in the issue to entice not only a new reader into this Hinterkind universe, but also to draw back those readers that read the previous kind of volume. So we've got kind of unlikely allies being made here. We have the threat of betrayals being much closer to home than first expected. We get introduced to some more new beasties. There's plenty of action in there, and it all just really adds up to an exciting read. However, we do still have the problem with the artwork, and at first I thought, no, this has actually got a lot better, and it wasn't till 3 or 4 pages went by and the same problem cropped up again. Reared its ugly head. Francesco, please, for the love of all that is good of comic books, enough with these kind of painted streaky lines across your characters that have no relevance to the scene. It's not shadowing, it's not the cut of someone's outfit, it is just unnecessary, it detracts from what is actually going on the page, and you are distracted. Enough of it already. Otherwise this would be a good, highly recommended title. For now, it's just, if you're a fan of Fables, this is its kind of younger sibling that needs to grow up a little. Alex and Ada issue 6 from Image, and before it goes on its 2-month hiatus, which seems to be the status quo these days with Image titles, we check back in on Ada with her newly acquired sentience. She now is no longer purely just a robot, or a rather expensive robot that just does what she's told, commanded to, programmed to do. She now has human emotions, feelings, and we get really quite a fun issue of Ada trying out what you and me take for granted. So we have this wonderful scene of Ada trying all sorts of kind of breakfast food items, and she practically eats anything and seems to love everything until she takes a bite of an orange and realises she doesn't like it. She gets to touch and feel things for the first time. So like the idea of something being knobbly or soft or rough, She has a lot of fun playing video games with Alex, and it's just a really kind of sweet kind of scenes that run through the beginning of this issue, and kind of highlights. And I think this is what kind of Jonathan Luna is kind of saying in this issue, is that why do we like the things we like? Why do we think something feels soft rather than rough, or, as you know, Ada says, knobbly? And so it kind of delves slightly into the kind of idea of that. However, it's not all fun and frolics for the two. There is still the kind of threat of being found out. Ada having been given this sentience illegally. This is not a procedure that is allowed in our future world. So it's kept from his grandmother. Alex persuades Ada to stay inside for now, you know, keep a low profile, so they're not found out. Of course, by the end of this issue, a seemingly innocent task of Ada going out to do the gardening ends up her being confronted by the next door neighbour. Just a lovely issue, and I love the kind of interrelationship that these two characters have with each other, and the way they really are kind of bonding with each other, and you almost forget at times that Ada is actually just a robot. Batman Detective issue 31 came out this week, and it's the second part of the Icarus storyline. Now, I don't know whether I missed something here, but this doesn't seem that great a drug to partake in. Not that I'm advocating taking drugs, but there seems to be a huge amount of danger in taking this. You know, if you take too much, you go up in flames. No, I'll steer clear of the Icarus drug, thank you. We kick off with this issue, and we have Detective Bullock with his usual finesse of a bull in a china shop, pointing the finger at Bruce Wayne for the death of this woman. I mean, it must be him. She died on his doorstep. It was nice to have a kind of nod to the other ongoing Batman title, our weekly Batman Eternal, when Bullock mentions about James Gordon being locked up. And it was good to have then, I guess, a time kind of frame of when this story is taking place, and it clearly takes place while Batman Eternal is going on. However, and I know this is kind of the thing we have to accept when you have such a big character like Batman who has lots of different titles going on, but you do have to wonder, how does he manage to get all this done at basically the same time? But pushing that aside, it's called Detective Comics for a reason, and we see Batman doing some detective work, retracing the steps of the woman that led to his doorstep. We also see him going undercover on the streets of Gotham, trying to find a lead on where kind of this Icarus drug is being kind of made, stored. Another thing that was interesting about this issue, and just the Bat titles in general, they are making a big deal of this part of Gotham called the Narrows. It seems to be in pretty much all Batman titles that I'm reading right now. It is a kind of central hub now, it seems, of Gotham, and of course it's the most dangerous part of town. This detective work, this undercover work, does lead Batman back to the docks, where he uncovers children locked up in kind of storage kind of what are they called? Not cabinets. Oh, I don't know what they're called. Just go with me. But he opens the wrong cabinet, and we have the villain Sumo, and a big fight does ensue. Another interesting part of this, the whole fight scene between Sumo and Batman over 2 panels. Sumo mentions just kind of like, he just makes the sentence, oh, the Dark Knight, with a question mark on it. And you do get that feeling while you are looking at that page, the panel structure of it, the art style in particular. I felt like I was reading a page from The Dark Knight. Whether this was done deliberately or not, but it was interesting that was placed there on those exact 2 pages. I did say on Wednesday that the art style of this, when I'd read last issues, wasn't as amazing as I thought it was going to be, because I knew Buccellato was doing great work on The Flash. But this issue certainly perked my interest up more. It's very different than what we see in the other Bat titles. It has, whether it is or it's kind of like photoshopped, kind of painted style, but I really liked it, really enjoyed the style, and I hope that kind of style does progress through further into their run. While we're talking about Batman, we might as well take our weekly visit to Batman Eternal with issue 5. And I just love the way Scott Snyder and James Tynion IV, with every issue, kind of expand their roster of characters. And here we have Red Robin being highlighted and pushed to the fore. While Batman's away focusing on kind of the gang warfare that is going on within Gotham, Tim Drake hasn't forgotten about the events that started this all off, and that was the attack by Pig by the museum and all these children that have fallen ill, seemingly with symptoms of the flu. Now, it was thought that it was due to Pig, Professor Pig, but no, they were already showing these symptoms even before they got to this museum. And we have this kind of convergence of characters coming together in, yes, again, the Narrows. Vicky Vale, disgruntled journalist, wanting to make another name for herself, get herself a headline on the old Gotham Gazette, and takes a kind of newbie journalist with her into the Narrows, and has to be saved by none other than Harper Row, who has left her brother Cullen at home with, yes, you guessed it, symptoms of the flu. And this is where we have the introduction of these super nanobots that have basically infested, and it would seem to be the cause of the illness of the children. These nanobots don't like to be messed around with, and it's up to Red Robin and his kind of computer knowledge prowess to get them to stop, follow his commands, rather than whoever it is that is manipulating these nanobots. And it does show that there is another big player in town. This isn't Falcone's style. He's more, you know, the guns and the fists. This is superior kind of technology. Tim says himself that this is far beyond anything that current technology should really know about. Another great solid title from Snyder. Another great week of Batman Eternal. I'm just wondering how much longer that they can keep this quality up. Fatale issue 22 from Image Comics, and with only 2 more issues to go, Brubaker kind of takes us on a bit of a detour and provides us with something I'm surprised we haven't seen much earlier, and that is the backstory of the villain of our piece, the Bishop. And what we have is kind of a history hopping flashback of kind of our demonic villain. Basically, you know, how he came to be, how he survived over like 100 years, what is his connection to Josephine, why has he got such an obsession with her, and in typical Brubaker style, this is all shown in a really kind of gruesome, perverse, dark style that has just made this particular title really exciting and what I've been looking forward to reading month in, month out. So it is with kind of... I am excited for this title and how it's going to kind of climax and come to an end, but obviously it's with a tinge of sadness because it is ending, and it is, I'm guessing, the kind of story that will just be wrapped up. There won't be a coming back for a kind of volume 2 of Fatale, but who knows, it may do. Yes, so we have all the main players converging, and one that has maybe only recently been introduced, but is certainly has been and will be, by the looks of it, a big part of capturing and, who knows, killing our main character, our Fatale Josephine. Our penultimate issue for me this week was Swamp Thing issue 31, and kind of this wraps up our kind of out-of-body experience storyline, but it introduces something new, and Charles Soule expands the kind of mythology of Swamp Thing. However, I'm not sure it particularly worked, and for the first time in Charles Soule's run, I felt that the way this was introduced was a big misstep and seemed incredibly convenient to one, to introduce and to use as basically a way of ending and kind of wrapping up this storyline. You may remember from the end of the last issue, Alex was kind of getting kind of hot and close with a young lady while in India, and we saw kind of the final panel, some kind of stuff oozing out of her mouth and her nose, and you wondered, well, what's going on here? Well, we have a new avatar of the Grey. Yes, Charles Soule is introducing a new element to Swamp Thing, one that has been previously unknown. We've known about the war between kind of the red, the rot and the green, and keeping that balance, but suddenly we have the Grey, which is basically fungus. So it is kind of, it's kind of between the rot and the green, I would say, but they've been keeping their head down. They are not wanting to get involved in the constant warring between the 3 main avatars. Now, while I find this an interesting and intriguing concept, like I said, the way Charles Soule has introduced this seems highly convenient and really was just a means to an end to allow Alec Holland to get back into the body of Swamp Thing. And then again with the actual kind of villain of the piece seemed a little bit drab, because basically who was the villain? It was big business, it was big money. There at first appeared no real motive behind these villains, apart from, as I say, it's money. It's a monopoly over kind of food sources. But however, we get to the end and we see a character that you've probably forgotten about over the course of reading this, that appears to have been pulling the strings behind this kind of big business operation. And then of course Aquaman showed up at the end. So yeah, it wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. The introduction of this kind of I don't want to say monster, but it is a monster, made up of kind of like fungi, was quite creepy, but a lot of fun. The way that he had to use this new avatar's power that was vastly different to the way he's used to using the green. Well, that was interesting. Like I said, it was just the way it was all portrayed, which seemed purely to end this storyline. We finish off this week with Iron Fist issue 2, and I've not left it to the end because it was the best this week, not really, but it was the one that I had the most fun with. And I mean, what is it about this title already that I love so much? I think the writer and artist, because it's the same person, this what's his name, Kyle Andrews, he's got the right mix here of a good comic book title. You've got plenty of action there. There's just enough about the origin story. We've got kind of the family drama thrown in there. We've got the mythology of the Iron Fist. And there's a big old dragon in it. You can't get much better than having a big old dragon flying around on our pages. But for me, in this issue, the artwork is the gem here. I really loved Andrew's style in this. The way he puts the pages on for the origin story, if you notice, all the pages look like they've been creased up into, like, you know, halved and halved and halved again, and it feels like you're reading like an old manuscript or a kind of pages of a diary that someone's kept hidden away. It just looks and feels like it's just great. I love this book. And it's strange because, like I said on Wednesday, at the moment, this is the only Marvel title I am picking up now. So, good on Marvel for keeping me in on one issue of theirs at least. And we're done this week. Hopefully by the time we've edited this all together, it won't be too long for you. Thank you all for watching. If you're new here and you liked what you saw, you can do lots of things to show me that you appreciate it. Give it a big thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and put a comment in the section below. I always love reading your comments, and I attempt to reply to as many as I possibly can. So until next week, thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.